Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Good to see you all. You're joining me for another Outturn preview tasting with the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of America. And as you can tell, usually we do these live streams and it's two, three of us sometimes, all having a good time drinking some whiskey on the eve of its release. But tonight it's just me, as you can tell. So maybe a little different. I was going to be joined by Scott, which you can probably tell based on the thumbnail, but Scott actually had to attend a family emergency. Sounds like everything's sorted out, but that just means you're stuck with me tonight as we taste through a whole selection of whiskeys. And I hope my palate's fresh and up to the challenge because I feel like Scott's been taking the lead on a lot of these. Anyway, if you talk to Scott, give him some well wishes. I think his mother was undergoing, I think, a procedure actually tomorrow. But as I said, it sounds like things are in the clear. And it's just us on a Monday night, if you're watching this live, or perhaps a Tuesday morning. If you're like me and you wake up and when you're about to start work, you watch the Whiskey Tube. But I guess that's how I wound up here to begin with. Anyway, good to see so many faces. I was trying to catch the chat as we were getting ready to start. A lot of good banter. I saw some people encouraging me to talk smack against Scott because he's not here, which I fully support. But I'll try to limit it tonight, given the circumstances. The man's not here to defend himself. But I will say, tomorrow is the official release of the April Outturn. Kind of crazy. We're flying through the year. It's spring already. And tomorrow, I believe, and I'll double check this. I should know this off the top of my head. We've got 10 brand new single cask whiskeys dropping at 1 o'clock Eastern time, all for society members in the US. Tonight, I'm going to taste through 5 of them. Now, full disclosure, when we do these preview tastings to sort of give you guys tasting notes and impressions or our thoughts on the whiskeys, at least Scott or myself or Jenna, one of us will usually taste the whiskeys and really have a good idea of what to expect before we go live. I just got back from vacation last night, and this beautiful cardboard box of bottles was just waiting for me. And to be frank, I haven't had a chance to taste any of them. So I guess the benefit to you is this is going to be as raw of a first impression of any whiskey that you'll ever get, hopefully on YouTube, which is, I think, a good thing. I put myself in your shoes as a sort of, well, I'm buy whiskey myself still, but I always really like to get through raw. I like to cut through, let's just say, the barrage of influenced opinions on social media. So, and really try to get to the truth about a lot of things. So anyway, the Whiskey Franco says, I'm going to post this right here. We are going in fresh, my friend. This is going to be a true first impression. And I recall Scott and I, we chose these whiskeys before they were shipped, of course, and we chose them together based on a number of factors. Again, having never tasted them, though, it's just our impressions, what we see on paper. So I'm pretty excited for some of these. I'm trying to remember like why I chose some of these or why Scott chose some, but I'm thinking when we taste these, this is we'll get the real story here. Anyway, a quick welcome to everybody who's watching this live. If you don't mind, I'm curious to know what's in your glass tonight. It is Monday. As I said, I got back from vacation. I had a few drinks while I was away, and I'm sure coming off the weekend, Monday's always a rough one. But yet here you are. You still show up, and we appreciate that. So what's in your glass tonight? Drop a comment, and let's find the most interesting dram. Why not? So that said, let's just get stuck in. I was sitting back here trying to think of the order because a lot of times when we do these tastings, we try to find an order in which the spirits will, I want to say, become more complex as you go on in these tastings. Or it's important to not oversaturate your palate too early on. That said, I think I'm going to roll the dice a little bit because, again, having not tasted these, I don't know which is going to be richer and which is a bit more lighter and delicate. But I think I'm going to start with a big one. So first whiskey up is cask 73.178. And don't worry, I'm not going to rely on these bright LED lights to tell the whole story. I'll put this up here. 73.138, win-win situation. Like the name. It is from the spicy and sweet flavor profile, which you can tell based on this color. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with this color coding system, but if you're new, we have 12 different flavor profiles, and we put all of our whiskeys into one at 12. And that's just because, at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, basic philosophy or manifesto, maybe philosophy is a better word, is to judge whiskey by the flavor itself. So, as a means to sort of extend an olive branch or be more approachable to people who are really going deep into whiskey for the first time, or maybe not just the first time, anytime, um, we categorize these whiskeys in 12 flavor profiles. Anyway, that ideally allows you to sort of explore whiskey from different distilleries, different cask types, sort of specifications that you might not be as familiar with, all within staying within a certain flavor profile. So this is called spicy and sweet. That's the flavor profile. This is from the Speyside region of Scotland, largest whiskey producing region by volume. 10 years old, bottled from a first fill ex bourbon barrel. I chose this one, sort of a younger in age. It's 10 years old. Only one cask using maturation. Where I was a little unsure is, as you can see, one of the last numbers here in this scrolling ticker, 62.4% ABV. So this is one of the highest, if not the highest, in strength. So I promise I'll taste everything neat. I have some water here to dilute after the initial impression, but here we go. So cask 73.138, win-win situation. Oh, I should do the, okay. As I said, this is the first time I'm tasting all of these. So I'm gonna give you a quick fire impression here. Sort of a straw gold color. You know, I was noticing as I was pouring, you can just sort of tell that the band of gold at the very top of the glass is pretty thick, suggesting a bit of an oily spirit, which I like. I think we were talking about that in the last stream that we did, or at least Scott and I think, or maybe it was Jen and I. We were here last week. We were talking about. Oh wow, I'm just looking at this right now. We're talking about texture and sort of our preferences, and I do tend to prefer more of an oily spirit. All these whiskeys are, in fact, non-chill filtered, which is a process that some whiskey makers will take to make the whiskey appear clean. It'll boost the clarity, but you often lose a lot of the texture in natural cask oils. And so this looks like a pretty oily whiskey. First impression, okay, this is definitely a freshly opened bottle. Rush of white peppercorn, probably from the 62% alcohol. Or what is it, 62.4. Rush of peppercorn right away. But instantly, it's funny because the first nosing, you get a lot of the peppercorn, but now sort of a sweeter vanilla, toasted caramel, classic bourbon cask matured spirits. Excuse me, bourbon cask matured aromas. Toffee, like vanilla pudding. I know I said vanilla earlier, but it's sort of a very, very dessert-like. There are some fruits. Interesting. It's not really like the bright, zesty, fruity type of Speyside whiskey you would expect at 10 years old. There's a lot of cask influence here. It is a first fill bourbon barrel, which means that it was used to the cask itself was used to make bourbon, shipped over to Scotland, then filled with this spirit right here. So it does have a lot of the fresh bourbon influence. Little bit of citrus oils, maybe like an orange rind. It's funny how you can sort of just know, you can pick up the texture and the oiliness of the spirit just by nosing it. Anyway, a little bit of saline, which I can't tell. That could just be from the high strength. It could be the alcohol itself. But I get that. It's like, it's not a coastal whiskey, and we know that. It's from the region of Speyside, sort of not the heart of the Scottish Highlands. But it's got this little, I'm gonna see. We'll taste it. I'm picking up this faint sea breeze. I know it's not there. The distillery itself is nowhere near the coast, or at least close enough to really have any real influence. But here we go. Cheers, everyone. Okay. Well, grapeseed oil. There are some berry fruits there. The orange. Okay, first of all, dude, this is strong as hell. 62.4. It's not shy. I was going first impression. I was going to say, damn, this is so approachable for something so strong. Then absolutely kicks your ass. It's like numbing intensity, which I know a lot of people are into. I think there's a time and place for it. I'm definitely going to be adding some water because I could tell there's a lot of flavors that are just sort of compact and really hiding behind this thick veil of alcohol. Oh, mm. What did I say? Grapeseed oil. That was my first impression. More toasted caramel, which is kind of like in classic notes, but it's really hard to tell. Neat. It's so intense. I'm just gonna add a dash of water. We'll start here and a little bit, and then we'll go down. That was pretty good. You know, when I approach a whiskey like this, almost 63%, I try to reduce the strength to a level, and maybe you do this at home. I'm curious to know everybody in chat if this is your approach as well. I try to bring it down not to pure drinking strength, which for me is probably mid 40s to 50. I try to bring it down just above there. I like for whiskey this strong, it's bottle cast strength. You have the opportunity to taste it neat. But I'd like to go to sort of level 2, or if we're going down, if this is level 3, bring it down to level 2, and level 1 is drinking strength. I like to bring it down a level a little bit, but knowing that it's still gonna be probably stronger than my own preference, just to see. Because sometimes I've diluted a whiskey to what I think is my own drinking strength, just based on the volume in the glass and how much I add, and I've actually gone too far. So sometimes these can be pretty surprising. Let's see here. Aroma has certainly opened up. Now I'm starting to get more of the orchard fruits. It's still got that sort of toasted, buttered bread, sweet caramel aroma, but there are more fruits here, particularly like orchard fruits, getting a lot of apple, red apple. I was gonna say pear, but that's just because from association, you usually get those two together. More just apple. Cheers. Oh, big dog. Oh, as I said, still strong. Still strong on the planet. Oh, but now the flavors are coming in waves, getting a lot more on the palate. Very, very lively still. I'm gonna add one more dash, and then I'm gonna be mindful of the time and the fact we have 5 whiskeys tonight. But opening up, it's already coming alive. And you can just tell the flavors from this one cask, I think, are multidimensional enough where already leading a tasting solo on YouTube, uh, I can experience them without distraction. It's like there's a lot going on here. Okay. Mm, there it is. The orange rides becoming more fresh orange juice. Apple's very strong. The toasted caramel. Then there's a bit of a nuttiness going on. That sailing note. I was talking earlier. I was like, wow, it tastes like it's like from the ocean, a sea breeze, perhaps. It's not there anymore. I think that was really something that my brain was just picking up based on the strength of the alcohol being 62.4%. So I'll have to think about this one. I'll go back. We have 4 more to taste. My first impression, very intense, very bright, lively, more sort of like think of baked goods, more baked goods than fresh fruit. Makes sense. As I said, this is in our spicy and sweet flavor profile. You tend to get more of the fruitier whiskeys in like juicy oak and vanilla, which is this blue color coded uh, flavor profile, or young and sprightly. So overall, it's kind of like conveniently, I would say, sort of a coming out of winter, entering spring type of whiskey. Probably why it was chosen for this outturn. All right, first one down. Not bad, not bad. Let's go. Okay, where do we want to go from here? Big Dog leading the comments again. You've got years of entertainment to catch up on. Oh, this is a conversation, not even to me. JT says, I may have missed it. How many are being reviewed tonight? Don't want Ben to hurt himself. JT, I am a professional. That said, I've definitely hurt myself before. So I'm not immune, but we were doing 5 tonight. So we just finished the first one. We've got 10 coming out tomorrow. So this is half. Let's go here. I'm going to take a sip of water first because I want to clear my palate. Water is probably not the most efficient or a rather effective tool at clearing the palate. I mean, that whiskey is very much coated my entire mouth, but I can breathe after that intense one. Warren Buff says, "Wreck that palate, Ben." I just listen. I just have friends in the lowest of places. I really appreciate you, Warren. The encouragement here of wreck that palate, man. That's one I've never received before. But yeah, and I like this one. Kim says here, Ben, I'm sure you can get some Chat GPT bot to review this with you. That's funny, actually. I've been talking with Chat GPT about whiskey lately. I mean, come on, I got real friends too, but it's been hilarious. All right, next one. Let's do this. This is cask 63.90. We're jumping up in age here, and again, I'm going to put the banner up. Let's change this one here. 63.90, sweet treat with a twist. Curious to know what that twist is. From the sweet, fruity, mellow flavor profile, 19 years old from a first fill barrel. Also from Speyside. Second Speysider in a row, both from first fill barrels. The first one was 10 years old. This is 19. I'm really excited for this one. Distillery 63, I think, is a total hidden gem. Fantastic whiskey we've seen from this producer. And first, we talked about first fill bourbon barrels a few moments ago. One of my favorite cask types, if I had to pick one. I think there's just such a variety of flavors that you can get, and really just the influence that it can have on the spirit over time is pretty amazing. 19 years is a lot of time to spend in the cask. With a first fill bourbon barrel, typically you'll see a whiskey aged this long will be in a refill, meaning that the cask will have lesser influence because it's been used more and more times. So all 19 years in a fresh first fill bourbon barrel, I'm expecting a lot of cask influence, and we'll see how that plays out. Again, I'm doing first impressions. I'm opening all of these for the first time, tasting these for the first time with you. So, okay. Okay, I'm gonna actually pour some more. Not because I'm trying to overdo it, but because this one smells delicious. I've just opened it. It smells really good. But also, I want to add enough in the glass where I can add water and be able to dilute it and with some room for error. Similar in color, maybe a deeper gold than the first one. That's to be expected. Almost twice the age behind this one, 19 years. And I was talking earlier about the first one. You notice there was this very thick band of oil at the top of the cask. Again, these are all non-chill filtered. So really whiskey as it comes out of the cask. I should say with all whiskey, though, there's a rough filter is done to remove any charcoal sediment. And of course, all of these have undergone sort of just a very rough filter, but everything else is just as you would sample it from the cask. So it's funny. There is a little sediment, and I'm wondering, okay, is this from the cask or is this from a glass that's not 100% clean? I'm pretty sure it's from the cask, but maybe I'll have to check my Cascade supply. Anyway, on the nose, okay, this is entirely different, totally different experience from the first half a second I spent nosing it. Just a bouquet of fresh fruit, a little bit of like a citrus oil, lemon seed maybe. We talked about the oils not being as prevalent just based on appearance, but you can kind of get it clean into your nose a little bit. Oh, just a very evocative, deep aroma. Again, twice the age. Is age always better? I don't think so. Is it different than a younger? I mean, typically, does it produce a different result? More often than not, yes. This one is just unmistakably older. We'll see if it's wiser. ABV is down on this one, and that's why I was hesitant to start so high with the 62.4%. We've gone down now to 49.7%. I'm gonna take another sip of water because that was just singed my palate. But I wanted to do the younger one first. I wanted to sort of taste the evolution that's taken place in the cask over time. So here we go. Cheers. All right, so that's um, I don't know. I don't think there are any kids watching. There better not be, but that was amazing. I'm just adjusting my language accordingly. Really, really sensual sort of aroma. Like it's like I hate using this description. I really, really try not to, but it's what's come to mind. It's like a luxury whiskey. I just don't like using that. I think it's kind of lazy, and again, I'm calling myself out here, but it just evokes sort of the classical Scotch experience that you think of. Um, Depth, profound. Okay, let's talk about tasting notes here. Stewed apples, stewed pears, both a lot of orchard fruits immediately. And I'm just sort of remembering, I was having an experience with the whiskey. Um, a lot of baked, I said stewed apples, so baked apple pie, more of like a strudel type of thing. It is sweet. Now it's in the sweet, fruity, and mellow category. I would say that this whiskey describes that flavor profile to a T. It's a good representative of the flavor profile. Um, but I picked up more citrus oil, lemon seed oil, mm, a little bit of mint, maybe. JT asks, "What would you say the twist was?" That's what I want to figure out because what I just described to you, I think I just hear myself talk, being the only one doing this tonight. Um, I just described it as a very classical Scotch whiskey experience. So let's unpack that a little bit. There's a little bit of waxiness, maybe. I was gonna say like nail polish, but I don't even think just barely. I think I'm looking too hard for that. Let me go back in. You know what I'm gonna do? I am gonna add just a small dash of water. 49%. Oh, and we're done. I think that's all I'll add. 49%, or what is it exactly? 49.5. This is pretty close to my preferred drinking strength, but I'm just gonna add some water, give it a little twirl, and let's see if we can unlock the twist in this one. There's like some black tea leaves, generic black tea leaves, coming from an American coffee drinker. That's all you're gonna get tonight. Sorry. Some tea leaves, a little bit of like a worn leather note that you tend to get with older whiskeys. I get that up with a lot of Speyside whiskeys or unpeated Speyside or Highland whiskeys. Um, Usually that's sort of something I pick up at like 30 plus years, but I'm getting a bit of that right now. And that wasn't there before I added the water. So that's one level unlocked. Oh, it's such a beautiful aroma, though, man. This is a very sort of tranquil, relaxing type of whiskey. The last one was probably on its way to getting there. At 10 years old, though, at 60, almost 63%, it was a totally different personality than this. Oh, so good. The fruitiness is intoxicating. You know what? Let me pull the tasting notes. Let's find this because I'm telling you, for me, and every palate's different. For me, this is classic. This is classic Speyside. 19 years old, first full bourbon barrel. Like on paper, I would describe this as advertised. Um, Red apples wrapped in wax paper, and Andalusian gazpacho. Nice. We're followed by a sitting in a rattan chair and drinking cup of rooibos tea. Okay, well, there's a tea. Not really sure what rooibos tea is. I did say black tea. Um, I guess maybe that's what it is. It's got this little exotic twist to it. Not saying that a cup of Earl Grey is exotic, or in this case, rooibos tea, but that could very well be it. The waxiness is not such a twist. Not the most common with this distillery, um, but yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it. Great whiskey again. Easy to love this one, and I would say, if you're new to the society, I would share this one with friends. If someone came over, and as people do, as you can see, I have all these whiskeys back here. I'm trying to think like, okay, well, I'm not going to just pour you one because duh. But of the 5 to 15 you're gonna sample, this would definitely be the lineup, and this would probably be early on before I get into sort of any heavy casks or perhaps peat. So, so that's that. That's 63.90 sweet treat with a twist. Let's move on. We've got three more tonight. If you're just joining us, and just to state the obvious, I'm doing this solo, and I think this. I was thinking about this as I was pressing go live here on my end. This is probably the first time we've done one of these streams solo. I think I've done one of the. I joined this company 5 years ago, last month, just over 5 years, and I think I was really pushing YouTube because I love YouTube. I learned a lot about whiskey on YouTube, and so I think I might have done some solo streams 5 years ago, very beginning. Please don't go back and look for those. You'll find nothing but just terrible quality awkwardness. So basically half of what you'll find here tonight, maybe better quality camera. But anyway, here we are. I appreciate everybody in the chat tonight for supporting, and drop a comment if you have any questions. I'll try, being that I'm just one party of one tonight, Ben being solo or Ben solo. It's somewhat difficult to open these for the first time and follow every comment, but trust me, I'm watching. So if you have any questions about the whiskeys, I'll try my best to get to it. Next one, we're actually going back to the spicy and sweet flavor profile. This is, where's the banner? Cask 39.235, got off on the right foot. Like I said, spicy and sweet flavor profile from Speyside. Oh, 3 Speysiders in a row. What is going on? Okay, interesting. That happened. This, however, spent time in 2 different casks, and actually 2 different bourbon casks. The initial was an ex-bourbon hogshead, that's the most common type of cask used for Scotch whiskey maturation is the hogshead size, made of ex-bourbon wood, and then it was transferred to a second fill toasted hogshead. So presumably the objective was to take a pretty classical whiskey, maybe sort of what we just tasted, and change the character in a unique and interesting way using this toasted hogshead. Usually the longer you toast or char a barrel, the less intense, I'm trying to really generalize here, the less intense the oak characteristics will be that the whiskey absorbs. Really trying to generalize here. So we'll see. Interesting. This is the one that caught me off guard on paper. I saw this. I was like, haven't seen this from this distillery. Obviously no surprise, we're total whiskey nerds over here. But let's see how this one goes. Okay. So very pale golden color. It's similar to the first one we had, which was a 10-year-old. This being 16 years old, more time in oak. And of course, with that second cask, but not what I would expect. Perhaps that's why they say you should never judge a whiskey by its color. Yeah. And I was commenting on the sediment. Getting sentimental over the sediment here. That was in my glass in the last one. I wasn't sure if it was from the cask or a dirty glass, but it's definitely from the cask. And I'm holding it up. You can probably tell I have this giant, I'm exaggerating, it's a normal size LED light. It's about 1 foot by 1.5 foot, let's say. So from my vantage point here, I can really see everything in this glass. And there's some little things floating around. Kind of gross, actually. Really gross. It's okay. It's real. Interesting. Oh, this is so different. Very, very, very floral. It's funny. These are 3 side whiskeys. I mean, you just cannot put everyone in a bucket. They're all so different. And I think a lot of people, when you taste, it's funny when you taste these blind, it's so hard to discern what is what at times. But each one of these are so different. Now you can tell there is a bit of that sort of fresh pine. There's like a fresh pine wood note to it. It's not overly oaky or anything. I said pine, which is, I think, very specific, but There is sort of like a wintergreen note to it. Is it mint? Maybe. If I really think about it. Oh, yeah, definitely more woodsy. Probably, presumably, I think it's a safe assumption to say it comes from this second cask, this toasted hogshead. Personally, I mean, I'll just share a unsolicited opinion here. I'm not too crazy over overly oaked whiskeys. I think, I like that in a bourbon just fine, but maybe even not in a bourbon. But it's just I like things to be in balance typically. I know that's kind of I don't know, classical pretentious opinion of scotch, but I don't care. I just like what I like. And I appreciate a whiskey that's all in balance with the spirit and the wood and the time they've spent together. This one is well balanced. So not overly oaky. Knowing though that it wasn't just sort of a product of nature, that it did spend time in two different casks and it was put in at a certain time and pulled out at a certain time. Um, well done. Ewan Campbell, who is our spirits manager. I think now he has a new title. I'll have to ask him, but something with many, many words and this and this and that. And it's important, but he deserves it because I think you can tell just based on the approach to maturation, it's well balanced still. Nothing's out of sync or overpowering. Oh, all right, cheers. Mm. Okay, so we're back on the ABV train. Really, really intense, very succulent. It's like kind of brittle on the palate. It's probably the alcohol doing the work here. More tea. I'm getting the tea, and I gotta tell you, I haven't had a cup of tea in a long time, so it's not like it's just on my mind. More tea, different type of tea, maybe fruitier, but it's got this sort of extra layer of depth. Unsurprising, this whiskey spent time in two different casks, and you're getting different flavors firing at different levels. And you can really feel that it's a lot going on at once. I'm immediately adding water right now. I could probably spend all night just trying to pick this one out. Neat, but I just want to get to it and unlock more of those flavors. Whiskey Franco says, I was going to say, I think you want tea. And tea is on the menu tonight for some reason. The three of these, this is whiskey number 3 of 5. The first 3 have been pretty, I would describe it as what's the common denominator here? They're all very subtle in their complexity. Nothing's really shouting at you. This is strong. The first one was really strong. Was that almost 63%? So the volume is dialed to 11, but the actual profile of all of them has been pretty elegant and subtle, which is good because I think, if me personally, I don't always love the super subtle whiskeys. I mean, some I do, some I don't. Maybe I'm generalizing too much here, but I do love them when they are put out at cask strength because I think it just adds a different level. The experience is leveled up a bit, and I think it can be something very mellow. And I think I described earlier as the last whiskey is like a luxury whiskey, but at cask strength you can have a totally different experience, and I like that. And this is definitely that. So I've had a little water, and I think I explained this experience with this whiskey as everything firing in different directions, or maybe all pointing in one direction, firing from different origins. Now everything is sort of blended together a little bit more nicely. More of like an Earl Grey tea. I think I said that earlier, but a little bit of autumnal spices. Nothing overly exotic. I think I've used that word to describe something already tonight, but that's okay. There are no rules for this. Very nice. Elegant. Yeah. Ooh, still strong. Ooh, a lot going on here. Very elegant. Yes. But I think that toasted hogshead has injected just a layer of, how would I describe it? It's not youth, because this is what, mid-teen, 16, yeah, 16 years old. You get every year of the 16. I mean, my point is to say that it tastes like a whiskey that's 16 years old. I think you can't, you wouldn't mistake this for being something that's 8, 10 years old. I don't know. I don't think you would confuse this for a 30-year-old, but because it has that toasted hogshead, that second cask, I just think there's a layer of vibrancy that might not exist if it was just the original ex-bourbon hogshead for the full term. I mean, obviously, that's the intent of doing it, is to change the character, and I think the decision to use this cask puts you in that direction. Anyway, what I mean to say is there's a lot going on, and so if you like a lot going on, I think this is for you. Still sort of similar to the first three, excuse me, the first two, this being the third, in that it's subtle. A lot going on, but you really have to sort of sit and focus. Maybe not really a social whiskey if you're looking to taste everything, but one, hey, one to sit in a room solo in, just as I am, and taste. Okay, that's number three. Let's. How are we doing? How are we doing on time here? We're 40 minutes in. We're making good time. Missing the banter with my colleagues here, but I'm going to dedicate this next whiskey to Scott. I think you know what I'm talking about. Whiskey number 4 of the evening is cask 85.70. And as you can tell, this is based in the color. This is our deep, rich, and dried fruit flavor profile from Speyside as well. Okay, what? Okay, 4 of these, all from Speyside. I guess it's not a total surprise. We do all of these, and we do a lot of these, and 50% of all whiskey produced in Scotland comes from Speyside. So, if you were to flip a coin, a 5-sided coin, if you were to roll a dice minus a 5-sided die, 5-sided dice, you're bound to get 4 Speysiders in a row, and that's what we got here tonight. So again, first impression, it's funny, you probably can't tell just from your vantage point, but even though these bottles are all dark green, you can just see how much more opaque this one is, just based on the fact that it's a sherry cask matured whiskey. Can you? Oh no, I was hoping the light can shine through, but nope. I can see this from where I'm at. The whiskey's just so much darker, and we'll see. Dang, says the Whiskey Franco. I feel like it's been a minute on 85. I say that after being a member for under a year, but still. I think it has been a minute. I think you're spot on. There it is. I was just lamenting about judging whiskey by its color and why you shouldn't do that, but I think we all know this is definitely a sherry matured whiskey. 15 years in age, a lot of sort of mid teens here. Let me pull up the exact info. So this was first matured in an ex-bourbon hogshead and then transferred to a first fill ex-Oloroso sherry hogshead. So finished, as you would call it, transferred, finished, double matured, whichever word you choose to use. I mean, ultimately, it's spent time in 2 casks. The second one, it was a fresh first fill sherry cask. So let's give it a go. Oh, yeah. Unmistakable sherry matured whiskey right here. Very herbaceous, a lot of clove. I talked about pine. It's funny. I talked about pine being an aroma or a note that I was picking up in the previous whiskey. Like, compared to this, absolutely not. This has it all. This is all the winter spices. Oh, the nuttiness of Oloroso sherry. Bit of toasted almond, maybe. Dark stewed fruits. Man, you know what? I'm going to look up some more info of this. I'm curious to know exactly how much time this is spent in the sherry cask because I'm getting a lot. So much that if I were to just taste this blind, I'd probably guess that this were full term sherry. I'm not saying that I have like the most perfect nose, but here it is. I'm reading here. After 13 years in a bourbon hogshead, it was transferred to a first fill Oloroso sherry cask. I don't know. I delayed on that. But yeah, big sherry notes. Let's see if we can get beneath them. I reacted immediately. I think before I can even like discern any note. Oh, that's strong. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Oh, I reacted immediately because the texture is just so different from the first three. There's a silkiness. It's I don't want to say velvet because velvet has more friction to it. It's very silky smooth. Oh, all right. Well, I just used the worst word to describe a whiskey of being smooth, but I did it. It's silky. It's rich. It's elegant. It just dances on the palate differently than those first three whiskeys. Beautiful, very sort of seductive whiskey experience. Oh, the wintergreen spices are there. Bit of dark chocolate. Oh, you know what? All the classic notes of a sherry matured whiskey. Oh, you know what? Okay, I was about to just. I can keep drinking this neat. This one's so good. Now, this is one I'll say of all four. This one, actually, there was another one. The second one we did tonight, the 19-year-old. This one I can just enjoy neat as is, but I really want to get underneath the sort of the veil of alcohol and see what we can pick up. I know our friend Scott's not here tonight. I know this is his type of whiskey. Oh man, I know I like to give him a hard time for random things just for the sake of doing it. This can't be one of them because this is really good. Probably. How do I say this? I made the comment earlier, and I'm trying to just unpack my thoughts here. Again, all these are my very first impression. I think if I were to go back tomorrow and revisit, hope you can appreciate this, I'd probably be able to articulate my experience a bit more effectively. I said earlier that I think this is like predominantly sherry cask matured whiskey. And if I were to taste it blind, I would think it's only a sherry cask. After adding some water, after reducing the ABV and getting sort of lifting the curtain a little bit, I think this is probably so far the most balanced uh, flavor profile that we've had, or the sort of whiskey experience. Everything is in good harmony. I think if it did spend time in full sherry casks, some of those notes that I described would be really potent and overpowering, which is not a bad thing if you're into the style of sherry. I love sherry, and so nothing against it. But as a whiskey experience, this is much more balanced, I think, because it did spend first 13 years in the hogshead ex bourbon oak and then 2 years in the first fill. I just think it worked really well. Now, if it spent more time in that sherry cask and went on further, then yes, of course, the sherry would dominate even more. And I think it would actually lose its real character. I think this has been bottled at the correct time. Again, my opinion, just tasting this, I could imagine, I could just imagine what would go on if it were left to go later. I think this is correct. Am I the authority of this? Absolutely not. But in my own personal experience, absolutely love it. Really into this one. This is a highlight for me. And who would have thought? So, Big Dog says it does my heart. Oh man, it does my heart good to see Ben enjoying himself so very much. There's Silk, and then there's Silk. Technically, I like to think, considering my passion for the spirit, I never feel truly alone. Well, first of all, I'm here with everybody, and I know that might not be able to see your face, but I know you're here. Um, and so I don't really feel alone. Secondly, I can sit in a room with a glass of whiskey, or better yet, in this room with many whiskeys, and just honestly feel like everything has a personality, especially these whiskeys. Everything has a one of a kind personality. So, yeah, some people can hear that and say this is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. I don't think this audience does. I think you guys get it. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so 4 or 5 done. I'm gonna take off this banner, and let's see if there's. I'm just browsing the comments. Apologies if I haven't been able to get to everything, but I'm catching up while doing this all solo. So Borderlander says, I'm never alone when my friend Glenn is around. That's true. That's true. Glenn is a good friend of mine. We've known each other many years, more years than I can really legally reveal. But yeah, Ben Austin says, hey, Ben, hope all is well. Hey, Ben, other Ben, good to see you. So yeah, thanks for joining tonight. Whiskey number 5. This is the last one. And I think this is going to be the surprise because now I know what a lot of you are expecting, which is to end the stream or the end of this tasting the way we end most of them, which is with a big peated whiskey. But I didn't bring that tonight. Instead, I think I came with a bit of an enigma, something we haven't seen often, something we haven't seen much of lately, but particularly this. And okay, I'm not gonna. I don't even know how I can hint at this anymore. I'm just gonna reveal it. But keeping to the theme at the Society of choosing whiskeys based on flavor and really, I think, trying to pull out some unsung heroes. This is going to be, I think, pretty interesting. Whiskey Franco says everyone is looking for that green hat topper. Yes, I understand. Now there will be a peated whiskey coming tomorrow. I think it's a heavily peated whiskey actually, but this is, as Sean Spieth called out, Oiling Coastal. This is a dark blue topper, which is the color that we use for the Oiling Coastal flavor profile, which we have not seen in a minute. And this is, can anyone guess what you think it might be? I'm going to give you a moment as I'm pouring this. If anyone wants to guess the distillery while I'm pouring this, first one to guess the distillery correct will get, how about this, a $25 gift card to smwsa.com. And yeah, let's see here. Okay, I'm looking at the comments. Here they come. 93, 93, 93, 4, 4, 10, 4. These are all the distillery codes. 93, 93. Okay. Wow, everybody. Keep going here. Think of a distillery by the coast. Hold on, I'm gonna actually gotta look at that map of Scotland here to just remind myself exactly how close to the coast it is. Yeah, it's pretty close. I think it's funny. There are a lot of distilleries that are off the coast of Scotland that we tend to forget are located off the coast of Scotland. This is one of them. Oh, look at all these numbers. Look at these. Everybody's following the rules here. We're not even using distillery names. We're just saying numbers. I was just playing roulette yesterday, and this just brings me back. Except for Steve Balzac, who says 121. That was not on the roulette table. In truth, actually, I think someone called it out earlier, and I just wanted to keep this going. This is, where is it? Who is it? And I know this guy's name very well. It was Ben who said distillery, Ben Stahl said distillery 26. This is in fact 26.197. Fisherman's Friend on the Beach, Oiling Coastal from the Highlands, 9 years old, from a first fill ex bourbon barrel, 61.6% ABV. Now, we don't really go too deep into distilleries. I know this is a bit of an enthusiast favorite, always has been. Oh, fresh cork pop right there. But you're welcome to go Google Scotch Malt Whiskey Society codes if you want. Again, we it's not going to come from us, but pour more in this glass. This distillery, or the style of whiskey you get from this distillery, I would say is probably similar to the first three, sort of a luxurious, complex, mellow, lower strength, leather armchair type of whiskey. Not this. 9 years old, 61.6% strength, bourbon barrel, only bourbon barrel, no 7 wine casks or whatever they'll use or more. Oiling Coastal. So the distillery is situated in close proximity to the sea, and that's what we have here. And it's oh, yeah, there it is. There is a faint hint of sea breeze. Oh, oh, young, vibrant aroma, but the depth. I just find that coastal whiskeys have a layer of depth that is just it is a layer. That's what I'll give it. I think it's sort of the coastal notes, but it just adds a personality that is hard to match, and that's what you get here. Oh, oh. Fisherman's friend on the beach. Okay, I gotta take a sip of water again. Yeah, we used to see a lot of oily and coastal whiskeys. Not so much anymore. Harder and harder to come by. So, okay, mint, sugarcane, lemon oil, intense lemon oil. I expect will subside with when I add a little bit of water. Fresh apple, floral. There's a waxiness to it, like a paraffin wax. How I know that we'll talk about my life history later, but uh, um, oh, such a just like an orchestra of flavors that had nothing to do with the first four whiskeys. They're entirely different. Again, not going to dwell too much in the distillery 26, but if you know it, if you were to take 10 of, well, anyway, maybe it would. Maybe you'd pick it out. I'm trying to think because there's like the waxiness characteristic comes from it. Um, yeah, yeah, fantastic. Oh, so intense too. Mm. Oh, oh man, fantastic. Sorry, I was reading some of these comments. It was good. Um, I guess there's some problems with the banner. Dale or Sean says, I only see oil and coastals that show in for you. Sorry guys. Yeah, just to clarify, this is 26.197 Fisherman's Friend on the Beach. Oily and coastal is the flavor profile, as is you can tell by this beautiful dark blue label, which looks pretty light at this intense LED light. Wow. Lovely whiskey. And a little bit more water. So I'll give just a final thought on this with diluted. You know what? Actually, 61%. I'm adding a few drops. I enjoyed it so much neat, which is saying something. First time I've said that tonight, but I want to really get under there and see what's going on. The mintiness has subsided a little bit. The lemon oils are there. There's a warmth now. It was a colder whiskey at first, and I tend to find that coastal whiskeys do evoke sort of a feeling of coldness. Bringing the strength down, it's warmed up the whiskey a bit. There's a bit sort of like a baked croissant note going on now. Oh, 9 years young. I think. Well, it depends on what your expectations. For nine when I see 9 years on label. As long as I've been in this business, I try not to judge. By this business, I mean like I've been just exposed to so many single cask whiskeys, different ages. I've learned I know better, but I can't help sometimes with the thing. That's probably going to be a very sort of spirit forward whiskey. First fill bourbon barrel, another fresh bourbon cask. has had a lot of influence on this whiskey, but not too much. I think it's a sensational snapshot in time and place. Um, Time being this age, this cask has retained this intensity while still developing enough character, really more of an orchestra of flavors than we've had from older whiskeys even tonight. Nothing against the other ones. I'm just saying, like, this is a surprise for sure. I said of time and place, and a place being sort of the influence of the coast. Subtle. It's not like an unpeated Isla whiskey, uh, where you're just picking up, you're just gulping down. I say gulp because we tend to gulp out the whiskey, don't we? But not that you're gulping down like salt water. But it's a very, very faint sea breeze. Um, Again, added a little bit of sort of coldness to the whiskey at the beginning until I added some water, and then it brought out some warmth. Really, really fun character to play around with. But Eric Waite Whiskey Studies asks the question: does the organization ever buy spirit from distilleries and not casks? Yes. In fact, we've actually bottled some whiskeys, I want to say this calendar year, in which, well, that the way we'll do it is we will acquire casks and we'll bring the casks to the distilleries and fill new spirit into our own casks. And in fact, we're starting to do more and more of that because why not? It's fun. So, yeah. Whiskey Franco says, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. What is that quote from? I feel like I know it so well, but yet not well enough because I can't recall what it's from. Okay. It's I know it's not a Horace Looning quote. That would be legendary, but yeah, wait, it's like on the tip of my mind here. Anyway, that's the 5 whiskeys tonight. I don't have an apologies because Scott is not here, but the full list of the others, but I'm just going to read off real quick a couple others. There's cask 53.413 Bonfire. Let's see here. Actually, let me do this before I continue. Let me close this banner. We'll move on here. Just the list coming tonight. Again, apologies. Usually we like to do sort of a screen share and post the whole list, but tomorrow you'll also see, along with these 5 we've tasted, 53.413 called Bonfire on a Clyde Puffer. That's a heavily peated cask, 10 years old from a refill. Let me refill hogshead. We'll also have just a few more. We'll have cask 7.276 called The Last Spoonful. It's a 10-year-old second fill barrel from Sweet, Fruity, and Mellow. And then we just talked about this 26, 39, 63, blah, blah, blah. We've had all those. Cask 80.38 called Morning Pause. 11-year-old. Ooh, this is interesting. 11-year-old from a first fill toasted Caucasian oak with toasted heads barrique. We saw, which is my assumption is it's a custom cask that we saw one last month actually from similar cask. Then cask 82.42 Hayloft Happiness, 10-year-old from a first fill bourbon barrel. That's an Eastern Highland whiskey. And then just a few more. Let's see, cask 113.55, an adventure for the palate. Oh, this is interesting. 9-year-old first fill barrel, bourbon barrel. And then let me make sure this is coming out tomorrow. Oh, that's it, actually. That's it. So one oiling coastal, which, hooray, we never see. Those are really, really hard to come by, apparently. And one heavily peated whiskey, which we also haven't seen. We see a lot of peated. And the bottle of the month, let me see here what the bottle of the month will be. Oh, the bottle of the month, if anyone's in the bottle of the month club and will be receiving a bottle every month automatically, it actually is the 53.413 Bonfire on a Clyde Puffer, the heavily peated Isla whiskey, is from the bottle of the month. And, that brings up a good point as well, which is at the end of this month, we'll be doing virtual drams. And this is something we started a couple months ago. It's just a live stream in which we give members an opportunity to order a bottle in advance and taste it along with us. And, the plan was to choose one tonight. And let me just double check to make sure first, seeing how many we have of all these, because I'm going to pick one right now. Um, let's do it. Let's do this. End of this month. I think we just sent the email out today. Check your email. You'll see the schedule for virtual drams this month. Let's do this one. Cast 26.197. Absolute sort of enigma of a whiskey, unexpected. I think just based on the reaction from chat, I think a lot of you guys are excited about this. So if you're thinking about picking one up, bring it with you to our virtual drams. Fantastic. So, and I'm scrolling through the chat because I want to guess. First of all, to the other Ben. Well, I know there are a couple Bens here. I think Ben Stahl was it. Ben, if you don't mind, because you did guess the sort of impromptu trivia question correctly, shoot me an email if you don't mind, which is ben@smwsa.com, and I'll respond with your $25 gift card, which, hey, you can use that tomorrow if you'd like. But yeah, I was scrolling through this chat. I'm trying to figure out what the this a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I presumed it was from Star Wars. I thought it was Horse Looning, but I can't remember what it is exactly. So can someone just anyway? All right, I'm not going to go digging for it. I'll do this after I finish this whiskey. But that's it tonight. Question, Warren Buff. Ben, could you tell us the flavor profiles in 80, 82, and 813? Okay, absolutely. So coming tomorrow, the 80, cask 80.38, morning pause, is spicy and sweet. And what were the other ones you're asking for? 82, I think that was the one. No, what am I thinking of? It's not one we had tonight. We had a lot of 80s. 82.42 Hayloft Haffiness. That is juicy oak and vanilla. And the last one, the 113. So the 113.55 is spicy and sweet as well. A lot of spicy and sweet. It's been a spicy and sweet month, it seems like. Palpatine from the prequel films, but which one? It seems like it would be Phantom Menace. I don't know. Just watched that last week. Big Dog says, congrats on the epic solo flight. Thanks, Big Dog. Appreciate you. Jimmy Stewart would be proud. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been fun. But that said, I've heard myself talk enough tonight, so I'm going to let you all go. Thank you for joining us. If you're new to the society, not yet a member, feel free to sign up. I think there should be a link here. And actually, you know what? This is our website, smwsa.com. And go ahead and you can join. Outturn is dropping tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern. So please enjoy. Drop a comment on this video if you have any other questions. I'll check it later tonight or tomorrow. Otherwise, thank you. Thanks for being a part of this. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be coming back. What is it, next week? We got a lot of streams tonight. And we got some good ones planned for you. Some good releases, some other topics of discussion. So we'll be coming back. Thank you all. Have a great night. And cheers.